Greetings, everybody. I am Dinike Amenra, known as Nuta. I'm live here at East High School. They had just had a rally. I was asked not to record during the time or session, but they just left. There were students that were surrounding the East High School flag out here in the middle. I'll show you as I'm talking. So there's a flag in the middle of the school here and the sign, and all of the students came out and formed a circle or an oval, and they rallied here. Some speakers and administrators came out in the middle of the circle, and they had their loud speaker amplifier and spoke to the students. And under the climate of the school shootings and the climate of the situation with the incitement of the president suggesting that teachers carry guns, there has been quite a bit of alarm. Again, I'm here on Van Brunt Boulevard at East High School. They have put barricades up around the rotunda area of the school, and the children were just released and sent back to their classes and their school indoors, but they were outside, and they were talking to the students as a rally in regard to the school shootings and the students who have walked out of school in protest, and also the protest of the teachers having access to guns and bring these guns into school to use them against, I guess, assailants, but it could also be misconstrued as use against the students. So, I've noticed that, initially, earlier last year, they had changed the laws so that a child who may have a higher class conduct on their conduct report, if it was a class 3 or class 4, they would have to not only report this to the administrator, but they would also have to report it to the police, and police action and reports would be taken against the students for fighting, for instance, or other kinds of serious issues. And I just wanted to suggest that we have more counseling, we have more parent involvement, that we have other kinds of solutions to ally a support network. Many of our areas, especially African American areas, where there was an integration movement that occurred, and then this integration movement, it ended. I would only say that the integration movement only lasted for about 10 years. So that's the end of the 60s, after the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and then so for 10 years from that time period, 1968 up until 1978. And then there was a very severe decline in our society with the infiltration of drugs and other kinds of paraphernalia brought into specifically African American communities. And then you had in the 80s the HIV threat against the African American community. But the idea of working with healing, working with empowerment, working with entrepreneurship, actually engaging the community in their own self-development has been neglected. African Americans were expected during the during this time to assimilate with the U.S. society, and without the cultural sensitivity, much like in Native Americans and Hispanic communities, their cultural languages, their ways of life were celebrated, and were able to act and live around their culture. And of course, that was brought into their educational support system. But with African Americans, we were expected to assimilate to Western European mores, middle class value systems. And the idea of no cultural sensitivity and no expressions of our African ways of life, African-centered ways of life, all of that has been basically discouraged in our community. So I am proposing the idea that we do become more inclusive and accepting and supportive of our mores and our cultural ways, and that it can become a community, that our school can become a community and not expected to only assimilate to a Western European middle class value structure. These are urban students, and for the most part, the urban students are predominantly taught, and the authority figures are predominantly people that do not reflect their culture, reflect their ways of life. And so it creates an immediate divide or contrast that creates dissension and suspicion and other kinds of things that may occur. And I also wanted to point out that most of the schools that have had the influx of high school shootings were not in urban African American communities. And so the idea of making a universal national concept that teachers should carry guns, and that the idea that we should be tougher or harsher or more hostile in the school environment, which is supposed to be a learning environment, is a concern for me, and I know of many other people. I would like you to feel encouraged to comment in the comment section. And if you have any questions, or if you have any other solutions that you would like to have for particularly the urban African American community, please feel free to inbox me and connect with me. I have established a virtual network called Ankh Academy. It's a Communiversity, and it is a after-school, before and after-school homeschooler type network, where I'm trying to build a cooperative network, home cottage industry, predominantly working around STEM education. I call it STEM or STEAM. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but I added industrial arts as another aspect of expression. So the ideas of creating a virtual connection that could bridge and create a supplement in African-centered education as an aspect that could be expressed. There are black homeschool networks that I know of here in Kansas City, but very few of these black or African American homeschoolers have an emphasis of African-centeredness. And to me, I was very excited with the Panther movie, in that it was a young African American girl who was in charge. She was a part of the royal family, but she was in charge of the technology for the royal family, for the implementation of security and safety. So with her genius, she was able to, in this movie, show a positive example of girls involved in STEM education. I also have a program called You Grow Girls, Teach a Girl, Heal a Nation, where I talk about home economics and industrial arts and using recycled and environmental concern objectives for young girls. You Grow Girls is spelled GROWW, and it stands for gaining opportunity, resilience, wealth, and wisdom. And so the idea of approaching holistic health, natural sciences, biology, and how that relates to our everyday life, and moving from the traditional Western European way to a more homesteader, connectedness with nature, and resource-based economy type of focus. So basically graduating our young people into a new world and a new thought on how they can approach life. You know, a lot of the plastics, a lot of the GMO foods, and other kinds of things that have occurred, the fluoride in the water, the chemtrails, those kinds of questions and topics are available for young girls to explore in You Grow Girls. But the Ankh Academy also exemplifies that resource as well for everybody, not only K through 8, which is our curriculum structure. It's a K through 8 structure where they will actually, it's an accelerated learning program, African-centered, and they will actually graduate with an associate's degree by the 8th grade and be able to function on a career level, either as entrepreneurs or going into higher education, and also networking across with a global connection of professors and scientists and designers, architects, and many of the 4 major aspects of, well, actually there's 12 major aspects that we look at for career objectives in the Ankh Academy. But we also have a Communiversity type of setting as well. But again, I'm here at East High School, and I just wanted to share that there was a rally where instead of the children walking out, they were escorted out to the outside parking area, and they were standing in a circle. They had flags waving, American U.S. flags waving, and they stood around the circle of the flag, and administrators came out and spoke to the students about their concerns. This is Adenike Amenra. Thank you for your time and interest. Feel free to please connect with me and post your comments or inbox me. Thanks again. Take care.